Catalina.
What?
I'm
What?
having food in my mouth. Um, I'm so happy I get to see just you right now. How
What's
are you?
good? What's new?
Oh my
What's
gosh.
exciting?
I'm getting ready to go to Burning Man.
Oh, when? When is that?
It starts, I'm leaving Friday. It starts like Sunday.
I thought it was earlier this year. Was the rainy one last year?
It's always, no, yeah, that was last year.
Muddy Man was last year.
That was a whole last year, a whole year ago that happened. Yeah,
It seemed like that was in the spring because because
I
people.
know, but it was like August, which I wouldn't be surprised we had again because it's been so rainy. So
Yeah, Muddy
I'm
Man.
prepared it all for a muddy Burning Man. So
So have you been before?
I went once during the Renegade burn during COVID,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and so it was like a quarter of the amount of people, 30,000 people versus like 100 something. So like the whole entire thing is like talk about getting out of your comfort zone,
Yep.
getting as uncomfortable as possible. It's like crazy heat, crazy cold,
Yep.
like there's
Crazy people. Crazy.
crazy people, like naked, drugs, like everything, drunk, like everything's there. So it's totally out of my comfort zone. And it's like, but my really good friends all go and they talk me into it every year and then I cancel.
Ah!
So this year I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like, if I'm gonna say I'm gonna go, I have to like have integrity in my word this time. So I'm going, even though every part of me is like, here's a good reason. Here's a good reason not to go.
I totally get you. I've never been, but I just
Yeah.
it's out of my whole realm. It's not even in my realm anymore.
It
So
has to be something like you have people that are going and they talk you into it. Cause like it's not, I mean, very rare. There are people that are like, that's my scene, but it's mostly like people that like to do a lot of drugs, you know?
yeah, yeah,
But if you have a group, like we have like the number of top 5 YouTubers in or like I don't know, social media people in the world. We have Aubrey
right.
Marcus. I don't know if you know Aubrey Marcus, but like huge podcaster. We have some really like big multimillionaire kind of like entrepreneurs that are in our camp. And so it'll be an interesting thing to like get
Yeah.
to know and just kind of just see what these people are like and I'm teaching a few classes there. I'm teaching just meeting your highest self and
Yeah.
like moving into like an ecstatic dance kind of thing. And then I'm teaching about understanding rage, like women's rage,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I think is great at Burning Man because like there's going to be some women's rage at Burning Man
That's right. Yeah.
for sure.
Oh my God, that's so great. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Okay, good.
Thank
Okay, so you
you.
have intention and a need that you're fulfilling. So you'll probably won't cancel.
No, I'm in it for. There's no way I would cancel just because people are depending on me. So now I'm in, but um, and I leave on, and they're driving like 3 people are coming in my car, so I can't get out of it now.
Yeah, the way to make yourself go is invite people and take on responsibility, and you can't squeak out. Yeah,
That's totally what happened the first time. I was like, no, wait, that
yeah,
is like zero my scene.
yeah.
Like orgies and naked people and drugs, like
I,
not my scene.
yeah,
And
no,
so then my friend's like, "Oh, Paige, we need someone to cook for our camp. We don't have anyone. The chef canceled, and you're the only one we know that can cook like every day for 30 people." And I'm like, "Oh, you need me? I'm needed? Like, oh, okay, of course I'll go to Burning Man." And then I had an amazing time, so
yeah,
but it was like that's the way to get Paige somewhere is like make her feel needed and wanted.
yeah. I have the same thing. Yeah. Oh, they want
They
me.
want me. I'm needed. I
Yeah.
can do something that no one else can do. I have
So
this saying like, um, if it's easy for me and hard for you, it's a joy for me to do, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I really just feel that. Like I'll give and give and give as long as it's just easy for me and hard for you. But that doesn't it's a little bit difficult with motherhood because then I'm doing stuff you like it shoots me in the foot for sure. But with adults, they usually like long as the other person is basically in the same mindset, then it works really beautifully, you know?
Well, there's not a one size fits all for all environments. So yeah, I get that. Yeah. Oh
For sure. For
my God.
sure.
I'm proud of you. That's so exciting. When do you leave?
Friday, like in 3 days. So Kelsey's gonna teach on um
Tuesday.
the Tuesday class, which will be good because she's like created a whole curriculum around it. So I'm excited for you guys. I'm like, dang, I want to be on that class. It'll be recorded, but it
Okay.
should be really good. So tell me your wins. What are you up to?
Nobody else is here? Nobody else is here?
No, I'm gonna send a message to the
Okay, okay, so I'll tell you my wins while you're doing that.
I know Jolene's coming.
Okay. Jolene and I were in Helen's emotional alchemy class.
Oh,
Have you done it?
I did it. I was in for half of it. I
Okay.
saw that I heard you being like making comments and answering questions and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my
So
God.
good.
Oh my God. I
So
mean,
that's what we're going to be focusing on at the retreat.
here's the thing I got. Here's the win. Notice you have the feeling. Okay, great. Good with that. Notice when you stop breathing.
Oh,
Wait, what?
mhm,
Oh, oh,
mhm.
notice when you stopped breathing. Not did you stop breathing? Notice when you
When?
did. And it was like that little gem just like switched everything for me.
Yeah.
So that was worth the price of admission on the whole thing. So that was really, really great. Uh, my and then I got to apply it yesterday because I was in a finance meeting.
So tell me how this looks, because I'm curious. Like, so you notice where when you stopped breathing, and then you go, what emotion was there in that moment when I stopped breathing?
Yep, yep.
And then you recognize the emotion, you release the emotion, and then you replace the emotion, right?
Yeah, because I've never stopped to actually figure out that it was emotion that made me stop breathing.
Hmm.
You know,
Like you didn't know what stopped. Like it's not that you assigned it to anything.
yeah, I didn't assign it to anything. So in that moment of like emotion has its own language, and I've never spoken that language before.
Hmm.
I've never interpreted it. So the fact that I notice, I know when I take a breath because I know like, and then I went, oh, wait a minute. I just took a breath. That's an emotion. What was it?
Yeah.
What?
And how do you figure out what emotion it is? Because I've found that I actually still need the chart.
Yes. Well, yeah, I don't even know, because it started Sunday and I practiced it yesterday. So I basically just had the chart right in front of me. Uh,
Yeah,
and then the other valuable thing is that the emotion, when it's not identified, leads to distraction. And so you eat or you binge watch or whatever you do to distract yourself. And then when the distraction doesn't work anymore, then you get frustrated, and frustrated is not an emotion.
that's big.
Frustrated is not an
I've heard that before, but it's hitting me now.
right. So I kind of went, oh, I get frustrated. I think that's an emotion. No, it's an indicator. And then if you stay in the frustration, then that's when depression happens.
That's right.
And then I went, oh, wait, okay. I just think, frustrated is another emotion that I can't figure out. No, it's actually an action that my body's taking. It's not an emotion.
That's amazing.
And I went,
Yeah.
oh, okay, good. So
So when we get frustrated, we actually have to backtrack to see what emotion is underlying,
yep.
which is not necessarily harder, but it seems like it would be a little harder to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what is it that's causing that?
Well, I think too, the other thing is the general thinking is to go back to your thought, but it's
Yeah.
the thought, it's the emotion. So it's like, stop, the thought doesn't drive the emotion. The emotion is all by itself in your DNA, in your body, in your response. So once you go, oh, there's an emotion, then what's that? Not what I was thinking. Because, you and I, we can do the deep dive back into your thoughts and back into the past. Okay, that's a separate challenge activity to get back of like, okay, that emotion keeps coming up all the time. There's certainly a younger, prior, earlier experience there. If that's
Because, yeah, and I love this because you may experience an emotion and then have a thought that justifies the emotion. And it's not actually the thought it's not the thought that caused the emotion. It's like we actually are typically taught that it's thought, emotion, action,
yeah, but it's not.
but it's not.
But it's
This
not.
is actually huge because it's actually emotion, thought, and action. But if we can pause at even the emotion and get the message of the emotion, then we can actually choose our thoughts
Yeah.
rather than having a thought that just randomly comes from nowhere. But what's interesting is the concept. I just was studying this past week is this idea that you can have a thought and then take an action faster. No, you can have an emotion and take an action faster than you even have a thought because our subconscious can work up to 7 seconds faster than our conscious mind.
Right.
And so in 7 seconds, I've already made an action. Then my thoughts have to start coming up with justifications for my action.
Yeah.
And
I
then we think it's because of this
thought.
thought that I created this action and it's not.
Yeah, I think thoughts and emotions are actually side by side, from your brain. So it's like a thought comes down or an emotion comes down.
Yeah.
And I don't real, they have a relationship,
Yeah.
but not connected to each other. But
There's a connection to each other, but they're like
not
they can both originate, I think, because it's not
yeah,
always just from an emotion. We can have a thought from a non-emotional state
correct.
and then create, but
Yeah.
we can also have an emotion and then have a thought and then create. But we can have a emotion and a reaction and an action, or we
Yeah.
can have a thought and an action without any emotion. So they are. I think that's a very good model is to see it side by side.
So it's side by side. So there's other things. So like we're in this other group, we're talking about passion. So do you decide passion or does passion decide you?
Hmm.
Really good question. And this is the same as the thought and the emotion, because sometimes I can say I'm passionate about that, so I take action and I have thoughts about it. Sometimes passion grabs me and I'm inspired and I'm taking action without any thought.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
which is fascinating.
That was like it was the day after I had the same thing. I'm kind of going like, oh, this is interesting. If I take anger, I think, oh no, anger's by itself, but maybe not, so yeah, the
Yeah,
broader speech. Yeah, so.
amazing. Well, you
So
ladies came on a little late and we just started geeking out. So, welcome Laura and Jolene and
you
Lee.
guys you can send us the $35 for that minute little workshop. Thank you very much. No problem.
That workshop was bomb. That was powerful, guys. Like, I hope you caught that. So, any comments, Laura or Jolene, as you were listening to that? I know, Jolene, you got on to Helen's class about emotions.
Oh,
I felt like it was going like this,
yeah.
trying to catch up to what you guys were talking about. And I was like, do I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll start with the beginning thing, Laura, so you can catch up. Is that the workshop was emotional alchemy, but the thing that I got is notice when you stop breathing. Not when you stop breathing, but notice or did you stop breathing, but notice when you stop breathing and what emotion was it that you stopped breathing?
Like, I find that I hold my breath a lot? Is that kind of what you mean? Like all of a sudden you're like, I gotta
Yep.
breathe.
Yep.
I think a lot of it is anxiety, so it's coming from fear, I guess, right? Like that chart of
Yep.
Dobbin's chart. But recognizing it's anxiety, it's not just fear. And what's even beyond the anxiety and getting into like, I mean, so we were saying panic is very different than fear. But a
Yeah.
lot of times we just stick with sadness, fear, happy, um, calm, right? We stick with very simple emotions that we identify as. But if you look at Gottman's chart or the chart that that Helen gave in that workshop, it's so extensive. There's how many are there? Like 200?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, anxiety isn't even on the one that's in our book.
Right.
So what? Probably because it's like, what is it beyond the anxiety that? Yeah, in our book, I only listed like 6 or 7 of them, which is just an example of every emotion has some sort of message for us. But panic has a different message than fear, which has a different message than frightened or has different, right? So the more specific we can get, it's just like manifesting, it's just like clarity, it's just like gratitude. The more specific you get, the more clarity you have, and the more easily you can create your experience, right?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Can't see it.
Jolene was showing me.
Yeah, 200 to 300. Well,
Yeah.
one of the interesting side notes is that Brene Brown, who does, researches human beings and emotion, vulnerability is her thing. And she said, after interviewing thousands of people, most people have 3 emotions: happy, sad, angry. That's it. She said there's thousands of emotions, and most people they deal in 3. That's their wheelhouse is 3.
As far as the emotional intelligence of being able to recognize, everyone has all the emotions, but the ability to describe and identify which emotions they have, they deal in 3.
Yep.
And so
Thank
her
you.
work is creating emotional intelligence, which is actually learning the language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super powerful. So what I love is what Catalina and I figured out is basically the process is notice when you stop breathing, notice the emotion that was attached to it, and then you can recognize the thought, but then you can see where the actions came from and how the emotion and the thought can be side by side. It's not necessarily that one causes the other, but they can impact each other. But ultimately, those 2 things are what causes our actions. And so if we want to change our lives, change our behavior, change the way that we're showing up in the world, then looking at that. Now we can look at our thoughts, which we are doing in principle-based thought, and then we can look at emotions and become more emotionally intelligent, which is learning more vocabulary, more language, more formulas, more. There's lots to learn about with emotions. And then, so what's really, really exciting is that's what our focus for the retreat is. It's all about raising the emotional intelligence and learning more about this language of emotions. So it's going to be really awesome.
So exciting.
Yeah. So fun. So let's see. Announcement is first. Please make sure that you have paid the $250 for the retreat. I think I sent a link out, but I sent it through my CRM. Did you guys get it?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't get it? Okay. Look for it, but let me know if you didn't get it, because my CRM's like, you try and get things that will automate things for you, and they end up making things so much harder that I'm like, I should just text every single person like I've been doing my entire business. So I'm trusting the process and trying to go into that. So anyway, do that, and then let's go into quick wins, because I want to make sure to hear your 3 wins. So tell us what your 3 wins are so we can celebrate and hear what's going on in your world. So Laura, let's start with you.
I just got done volunteering, but I dropped off tons of consignment sale stuff, my daughter's clothes and toys, and it's over $1,600 worth of consignment pieces.
Wow.
So yeah.
Like credit that you got?
No, if I sell
if you-
everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I usually make like, I don't know, $400, $500, $600. So we'll see.
Amazing.
Maybe I'll make more this year. I didn't do it last spring, so I had more stuff. So that was huge because I was like all consuming, getting all of it ready. It's a long process. Um, Last night, Everly slept all night, even though I was the only one in the house. Usually, if my sister's here or if we tell her that mommy's not going to be here and that mommy will be back in the morning, she'll just sleep through the night. But with me being the only one in the house, we did not have a good going to bed. It was very hard. I yelled. I mean, I don't want to be a mom who yells. I'm going to have to take some classes or something. I don't know what's going on.
I always said I'm a recovering yeller, and then I'm like, I'm definitely not recovered. I'm just not recovered.
It is so it's like she won't even let me like heat up my dinner. Like I hadn't eaten and I was like, I'm just going into the kitchen to heat up spaghetti. And she's like, it just like, it's just, and I know she doesn't have reason. I know she doesn't have the ability to control that. I get it, but it's like, I can't, I'm like, I'm just trying to eat, you know. I feel really guilty about it though. Like it's hard. So anyway.
Why do you think she doesn't have the ability to control it?
Well, she's only 2.5, and I think that their frontal lobes, where they are developing, I haven't read, I don't know the exact terms, but some of their temper tantrums and their emotions, they literally can't control it. Like they don't have the rationale and reasoning to understand. So they just kind of have to like, a lot of times when she'll throw a temper tantrum, just kind of for no reason, I just let her cry. I just let her lay on the floor and kick and scream until she gets it out of her system and then she's fine. But for bedtime, she vomits if she works herself up. Have I not told you guys this?
Yeah.
Last week, I had to take her rug out of her room and hose it off in the yard because it was covered in vomit. I mean, so like, I don't want to let her get that worked up because then I have to deal with it. Like then I have to deal with the repercussion of like her throwing up. And that one was really bad. And then she'll also like threaten to climb out of her crib, which is not safe. So it's like a whole thing. Like, what do I do? So I did let her cry for like 30 minutes last week. And then I finally went in there because it was just, she was like going to climb out of her crib and, she would probably be okay. But what if she hit her head and died? And then I would be like, I'd feel horrible. So, or worse than that, but you know what I mean.
I climbed out of my crib and then I taught my brother how to climb out of his crib. So
She's done it before and was fine.
yeah.
I slept in a tent for a long time.
So if I can hop in here, like
Yeah.
the two principles that just come to mind around this, and I'm not a sleep trainer, so that's not where I'm going, but it is the idea of like, where are you making choices from fear and where are you making choices from love, right? Is it out of fear of her falling on her head and dying, or is it out of like love and intentional creation? So just keep checking in on that, right?
Good. Yeah. So in that situation, my choice of love is to let her cry because she has to learn that she's safe and she's okay. And like, I know she's okay in these situations. Like if I'm unsure of her, like the other night she was crying and she had been coughing all night. So I went and got her and brought her to my bed because she was not feeling well. She couldn't breathe through her nose. Like I get that. But like my choice of love would be to let her, cry. You've got to learn to like figure this out that you're fine. You don't need me. Like, and like at night, I guess the whole throwing up thing, I don't know. Like before bed, it's really hard. She just won't go to bed. And I'm really feeling like she's got anxiety or something going on, whether it's separation anxiety. Like she'll sit and pick at her fingernails all. She's 2.5. And I do that. So I'm like, maybe she's getting it from me, but I'm like, there's something going on her little mind. She'll be like, Mommy, I'm tired. And I'm like, go to bed. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. cuddle up. Like I talk her through it, and I've bought like this little meditation thing and lullaby thing, and I don't know. So where is like what if I just
So the other principle that comes to mind is just looking every single night. And what I would do is I'd write it down is like 3 things that worked, 2 things that didn't work, and 1 thing you're going to do differently. And just keep doing that every night. 3 things that worked, 2 things that didn't work, and 1 thing that, because we're doing like so many different things, right? And it's like, oh yeah, like when I reflect on it, when I said these words, she took a deep breath. Okay, I'm gonna do that tomorrow, or when we walked into a room holding hands, like that seemed to mean that like I've got you or something. So I don't know what it is, but it's just like this pattern. I met this guy on a cruise ship that was paid, I think it was $10,000 just to come for 3 days and teach on this stuff. And the whole thing was 3-2-1. 3 things that worked, 2 things that didn't work, 1 thing that's going to be different. Focus on the positive first. Your brain's working in the positive. We're looking at the wins. And then look at 2 things less, but just focus and recognize. Because what we tend to do is go, oh my gosh, that was a total disaster. None of it worked. And now we're just focused on it. And then just your brain can only focus on 1 thing at a time. So just focus on 1 thing you're going to do differently. But it works for, right? Like parenting, for building a business, for a relationship. So try it on. But I would give you that challenge to try that out, because I have no idea. And really, like, she came to you because you're the perfect mom for her, right? And she knows that, like, that the things more about her than any human on the planet. So you can read every book about parenting and about bedtime routine and everything else. And ultimately, like, as you use your mind as a tool and principle-based thought and do these things, you're gonna figure it out. And it's some sleepless nights, but that's called motherhood.
Yeah. It's in the moment, it's hard because I don't know. This whole thing is hard, and I don't want to like take over the whole conversation, but it's like you try to like have boundaries in the situation, and like, we're only going to read this many books and we're going to sing this many songs, and you set these like things. Then how, like then she's screaming, crying, throwing up. Like, when do I like I try to honor myself and things that I've set, but then I feel like I end up breaking them just to get her to go to bed. Like,
right? Yeah.
It's so hard. So
it's so hard.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of been doing some of this, but I need to like be good about, okay, that did work, so I'm going to do it again. Because there's a few things that I made a chart, like a bedtime chart, and here's a routine, and just sticking to that. She's kind of sick this week, and
so a lot of anxiety comes just as adults. It comes from feeling of a lack of control, right? So if you're giving her tons of control, how many books do you want to read tonight? Okay, so how do you want to climb into the crib? Do you want me to lift you up, or do you want to crawl in? Okay, how do you want to like have your snuggly? Do you want it on your this side or this side? Right? Yeah, this is the left side. So whatever, but it's like giving her tons of as much control as she possibly can, because just as coaching adults with anxiety, it probably is the same thing that causes it in children, right? Is like she feels like I don't know though, like there's tons of different things that can cause it, but if you want to try that out and just see, even throughout the night, of like, do you want to eat with this fork or this fork, or just that kind of thing of like, how much control can you give a 2-year-old?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, I think that's something to focus on.
Some things to play with, right?
I have
one. You never know what works with a 2-year-old.
Right.
Like, I know it sounds like so, I don't know, menial to everyone else, but it's like, it's literally consuming my life. Like, because it's just, I have to deal with it every night.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound menial.
Oh, thank you.
Not at all.
It doesn't. It's huge.
And I
We-
know it's a,
So there's things that I just learned that I can apply because you shared.
oh, thank you.
Yeah. I love you said that. That's
Thank
and
you.
it totally makes sense that it's all consuming. Like sleep
Yeah.
torture is a real thing. And in Money Brain, it talks about how, like in the military, they have sleep torture. Well, they'll like drip something and wake someone up every 20 minutes, every single 20 minutes for like 80 hours, right? That's a form of sleep torture. But the worst type of sleep torture is where they wake you up in 2 minutes and then they wake you up in 20 minutes and then they wake you up in 40 minutes and then they wake you up in 60 minutes and then 2 minutes. That's literally the definition of motherhood. It's like you are literally being sleep tortured. That's what's happening. So it's not menial. You're being
Yeah.
tortured.
It is so important. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I do have one other win. So I kind of went on a date, but I have to explain. Um, so he's a guy who was referred to me as a client out of Oregon, but I just was like kind of feeling good the day that the girl called me to refer him, and she was like, "Oh, he's a single dad." And I was like, "Oh, is he hot?" Like, I just was kind of being funny, and she was like, "Yeah,
Actually,
looking." And so I met with him once when he was coming to check out Nashville and decide where to live, and we had a good lunch, and like, I was like, "Okay, okay." Um, and so I've kind of just been curious, and he sold his house in Oregon. So I sent him a text last week and I was like, "So, little birdie told me you sold your house. We should go have drinks and celebrate." Like, I would just like, what they say, like, shoot your shot. And he was like, "I'm in. When and where?" And I was like, "Oh." Even if it's not a like love match, it was like just the act of like, okay, we can do this.
I'm
Like,
so impressed.
so it was fun. I learned a few things in our hangout that give me a little pause. So I still have to like decide how I feel about it, but it was nice. Like, it felt like, I mean, whether or not it was actually a date, but like it felt like a date. So it was fun.
It was a date for him.
So, I mean, he was very complimentary a couple different times. And yeah. And he was like, "We should do it again." And I was like,
Ah!
a little nervous.
I love it. Yay. That's so awesome.
That's
Thanks
a
for
win.
sharing. That's like the best share. Aw, I'm so happy. That's great. Like even, yeah, it's just like getting out there and feeling into it and going like, oh, okay, this is the scene. Like it's
Yeah.
okay. It's not so scary, right? But we can stay not doing that kind of thing just out of like it's bigger in our mind than it is in
Yeah.
reality.
And I'm glad that it was something organic, I didn't have to like go look for somebody. That's much more approachable to me, but yeah.
Well, it's all practice. It's all practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's all practice. Still, all practice. So,
So great. Yay! Big celebrations and yeah, I'm glad we could I see I felt I was like, Laura's gonna go first. She's got something good to play with
I was
today.
like, I have a third one. Yeah.
Yay! Jolene, you're gonna go, then Catalina.
good.
It's just funny. I'm curious as why you didn't think it was a date.
Yeah.
Well, he will be a client, and so I have approached it and approached conversations with him as if it's a client conversation. Sorry about that. A crash in the background. So yeah, I don't know. I was like, we can go out and celebrate that you sold your house, like,
Define the word date.
for me.
Yeah.
I think I can ask a guy on a date. I don't think he has to ask me, but I guess like I feel like there's mutual interest, but I don't know 100%, but
Can
I didn't go like, so is this a date? Like I didn't say anything like that.
Can I give you a definition of date?
What
Is
now?
two people going out with mutual interest?
Yes,
I guess.
people doing something fun together at an established time that has no future.
Ooh, that has no future.
That has no future. What does that mean?
It's complete and whole in the whole thing. As women, we're always thinking about, is he going to ask me out again? Is this going to go anywhere? Am I going to be Mrs. So-and-so? We're already down the aisle.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a date is whole and complete all by itself.
Yes. That's
It's a whole thing. And
Yeah.
it's you're engaged and you don't know at the end, but you're not focused at the beginning on the end. So you can actually be in the date.
Yeah.
It's hard for women. It's hard. I'm just telling you, it's
I
hard.
think if we went out again, I would be a little bit more intentional about it being like an actual date.
We're already in the future. So what if a date is doing something fun with somebody you enjoy and it has no future?
Yeah. But he asked me if I wanted to, or he kind of said like we should do it again. And so now
But
of
then
course
you'd have another date.
we don't, but
He created the future. You didn't have to.
he did. Yeah. I just have a few concerns and so that's where I'm like, do I just go and let the concerns work themselves out then? Or do I I don't know. So
Yeah, because it's all just about going in with more curiosity and not and so Helen helped me with this. It's like, how do you know when to end a relationship? It's just when you're not growing anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So like as long as you're learning something and you're experiencing and you're maybe even just doing it for your own ability to get out of your comfort zone and do something, and get back into the dating scene, like whatever it is, that it's okay that it's just exactly what it is,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But you can stop going out with them as soon as it's like, yeah, this isn't serving me anymore. Right? Yeah. So, until then, just curiosity is so good. But I love that concept, Catalina, and it goes along with the concept that Allison teaches about there is no relationship. There's just an interaction with two human beings in this moment in time.
Right.
There's no such thing like, oh, the relationship isn't going well. Oh my gosh, my relationship is so difficult. Oh, the relationship ended. It's like, what if there's no such thing as relationship? What if it's just right now, this moment in time with this human being? The relationship is like a story that we're telling ourselves, and it could be a complete illusion. But what's real is right now, this experience in this moment in time.
So it's a verb.
What do you call like what's led up to it?
Nothing.
Moments in time that led up to it.
Oh. Y'all are going over here for me.
Well, it's like we're planting a seed because when it hits you, you're like, holy crap. Like, it's just a moment in time. Like, it'll hit you.
But yeah.
It's related. It's not it's relationship is not a thing in your garage that you go tinker on. You don't fine tune it. You don't put air in the tires. It's not a thing anywhere. It's relating in the moment. It's only moment to moment to moment. That's all it's ever been is moment
So
to moment.
what's freeing about it is it's basically saying you don't have to bring all of what happened in the past into this present moment. What if this present moment is clear and free of everything that's happened in the past and anything that could happen in the future? And so it lightens the experience of relating. But as soon as we bring in all our garbage and baggage and we put all our projections into the relationship, it's kind of doomed.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
I totally do that. I put all of my past experience into how I'm evaluating him.
Me too. Okay. Like 100%. Okay. So I have to tell you this one thing though, because this is like a perfect example of this. I get a text yesterday from this guy and he's like, actually should read it to you. He goes, I was vulnerable enough to ask you on a date, and you didn't even have the courtesy to respond to me. And like to ask you out, he said, or something.
He said that
he goes, because he had texted me, and he says, I was looking forward to meeting you, but I'm not interested in getting to know someone who doesn't have the common courtesy to respond in a timely manner when I showed vulnerability by asking them out. I truly wish the best for you in your search. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I am so sorry. I honestly didn't see this response. My kids use the computer and it opens up my text and then it says read and I didn't see it. And so I'm like getting ready for this camp I'm going to, and there's just a lot. I have 3 retreats in the next two weeks. Like I just have a lot going on. So I'm really sorry. I didn't even think of like that you would have responded to my text. He's like, oh, it's okay. I understand that things like this can happen. I'm willing to give you another shot since you were nice enough to apologize.
wow.
And I said, no, I'm sorry. I hope you find a match.
Yeah, yay! Stand in your power.
I was just like, nope, that's not going to work for me. But my whole point is talk about bringing in your past and like throwing it into a moment of relating where you're not giving the benefit of the doubt to the person whatsoever. Yeah. And you're throwing, like, he basically barfed on me, right?
Yeah.
So, and so it was like a very fascinating example of that, you know?
Perfect example.
Had he text messaged you to ask you out?
Yeah.
And
it wasn't okay, and it wasn't an asking out. It was like, hey, I don't have my kids on Thursday or Friday. Like, you know what I mean? So it was like, anyway, the whole thing was there's just people out there, and it was like, oh my gosh, I dodged a bullet. Like, I'm so glad I didn't spend any moments of my time with that human being, you know? So anyway.
Allison says that men will tell you everything about themselves in the first sentence or the first paragraph, and we don't listen.
Yes.
We don't. They'll tell us everything about themselves, you know, in the first paragraph, whether they want kids, whether they want to get married, how they are, everything else. And we are so enamored and in love and in the it could be that we don't listen to all of it. We don't. We're so concerned over here, like, you know, is he attracted to me? Whatever it is, all of that. So
I've been vicariously living through the dating life of my renter, Camille, who I so wish could be part of this mastermind. You guys would love her. But I sent her something that my friend posted the other day, and it said, if he can't plan a date, he can't plan a future.
thank you.
She keeps getting asked out by these guys, and it's like an afterthought. And they're like, oh, you want to grab drinks? Or like at the last minute, they're changing stuff. And I was like, no, do not go out with him. Like, I'm just like, no.
Pop.
But she's like, well, I mean, I have nothing else to do. And I'm like, no. I mean, it's hard to take dating advice from me. I'm 44 and I've never been married, but I have
to know the concepts. Just
I've learned a lot. Yeah. I've been there and done that.
You actually have great dating advice rapport because you've been dating for 35 years.
Yeah, right.
I'll share my dating by the numbers that I created at the retreat. If there's time at 11, I'll share my dating by the numbers.
Well, you know, you and I might be arriving early together, so we'll have some time.
Well, we might have an opportunity to have like private one. Oh my God. So
how much is that going to cost me? I'm just
in my 40s when I was single again and I didn't know how to date, my girlfriend and I designed a dating course.
Yeah, you told one of the girls from our retreat about that.
Yeah, because we figured you teach what you need to learn. So everybody goes, well, how did you know? And we said, well, we had to do research and figure out what we were going to teach, and we learned, and then we just taught others. So, but that was our, you know, and we made money at it. So it was our whole motivation. But it was like so profound in doing that because it's not like I knew before I started. I didn't know. So, you know, on something bigger than me. And, we learned, and it was like, it was amazing. And I still use a lot of it. I use it in business every day.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use
It's,
it. 'Cause
if
there's
it
just,
applies one place, the law of accordance, where if it applies one place, it applies everywhere, right? Uh-huh.
there's men
You guys
everywhere.
are amazing.
I
There's
know. We need to somehow get you to teach the dating course.
I know.
Especially one of the months where you like teach the dating one. Right?
Yeah.
In the mastermind, we should square you in.
Okay, swear me in, because I'll pull out my manual and I'll make a short course.
Okay, February.
That
No.
You do it?
Or January leading up to it.
Oh, that's a good idea. So we can all have dates in February and apply it all.
a dating course at Mastermind. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a 4-class series.
It's really helpful though, because like even just the perspective of like it's just a standalone thing and I don't have to figure it all out before I choose to go on another date, which is what I usually do. Usually I'm like, oh, well, I mean, there's this and this and this. I'm like, I don't know the answers to those things.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
can I share one of the things?
Nobody teaches anybody how to date.
What now?
Nobody teaches anybody how to date. We didn't ever learn how to date. We started dating in high school when your hormones are driving everything.
No kidding.
True.
All you want is one of them. All they want is one of you. That's it. There's dating. That's what but in high school, when in puberty, when everything is just going wild, everybody's single and everybody wants one. So it's just a matter of numbers. Do you want me? Do you want me? Do you want me? Do you want me? It's easy. When you get outside, nobody knows how.
Well,
No,
on dating sites, it's kind of like that. And there's just this plethora of choices. And be like, I don't like this about that one. I'm going to move on. I don't like this about that one. I'm going to move on. Like they can there's an unlimited supply.
yeah, but you also let then all of the past get in the way. And if you're clicking and going, clicking and going, clicking and going, there's not an opportunity to actually engage and study and learn.
So I think women are more open to that. I think a lot of men are just like, me, me, me,
It's
Well,
interesting.
men have an ability to see a woman and
Yeah.
determine whether she's a match or someone he wants to work with or someone that he would want to have a child with within like the first couple minutes of meeting her. Now, picture like online and just pictures doesn't make it's not as accurate, but they're very, very intuitive that way.
Mhm.
So we say, oh, they just move on, but it's like actually they know themselves a lot more than us. So we question ourselves and go, well, maybe it's okay if he's, short or if he's tall or if he's not, he's cross-eyed or not. Like maybe I can talk myself into liking him. Like guys don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we get, I want some of that ability that the guys have. That's so unfair.
It's not factory installed.
I want
But I will tell you, like part of your course, I'm sure, is all about getting clarity, right?
Yes.
Like the more clarity we get in creating our list and figuring out like what we're actually looking for, then the more when you see them, you're gonna be like, oh, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
like something you just learn, Where do you learn it?
Okay, January or February, Catalina?
January.
Okay, I wanna yeah, we'll talk about it. Maybe we can like co-create or like I can support or you can just take it away, but we'll plan it because I'm actually
to.
really
A lot of
excited.
people sign
And
up
I'm
for
like,
that.
hey, wait a minute, I want it this month though.
I bet you could get a
So,
ton of people to sign up for that.
yeah. Yeah, we can promote each one of the like topics that we're doing in the masterclass like individually too. So it's good. It's so good. Okay, so we haven't even gone to Jolene, but this is kind of like a funny class. We're gonna go to at least till 2:15. But Jolene, tell us your wins because you have some good ones.
Oh no, that's just great because and remind you, I'm your driver, so I get part of this
We'll
See?
save the class for part of our drive.
Sure.
the three of us need to get together so we can figure this out too. So, no, but I have more questions. It's just funny listening. So it's like, wow. Yeah, it's a thought. Wins. I had a great session with Paige earlier today. So that was a great.
That was a huge win for both of us.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great win. I'm just gonna go with not just gonna go. Well, I'm gonna celebrate. I went out with family last night. It was my sister's birthday, and so we gathered, and I just put everything aside, and I felt like I was present. My brother and my sister-in-law and my son and my daughter-in-law, and we just chit-chatted for like 3 hours. All these people came in the restaurant, left the restaurant, and we closed the restaurant down. And so it was fun just being present and nowhere to go, and just being that. I removed my one already, Paige, so I don't know where that is. I'll go get it in a minute. Let's see. A huge win coming home with 10 days. I spent 10 days. Most of it was on the road. And we did stay at a place, but last week when I talked to you guys, I was in Oregon, but then we spent more days on the road coming home. But for me to be, fully immersed in a house with, 4 other women, and learning about myself and in how to interact with that and what to let myself let go. And I think I shared last week when I just wrote, there was so much going on, but then the next step of that was it just felt so heavy. And so we had actually gone to the beach, and the group kind of split, and I went, nope, I'm just going to the sand. And I laid down on the sand, and I was so heavy, and I just let it, and it just kind of just like scooted into the sand and let it go. And I think I fell asleep in like 30 seconds flat. And so when I woke up, I was just like, oh, and then I wandered out and got water on me and got to explore on my own, and just that regrounding. And it was just so huge. And that's kind of one thing that me and Paige talked about, was just recognizing, one, instead of letting all that stuff just fester in me, I let it out and let it write. Because one thing I noticed or recognized was, living alone, you're not having all these conversations and all this energy and all this thing that's going on, and then all of a sudden you're in a house with all of that, and it's like, and then in a car, and then and it wasn't about dislikes or trying to make sure everybody was comfortable, or it wasn't that at all. It was just literally the energy. And so just really recognizing that and letting it go, and then not judging myself for it, and it was funny because the one gal said later, because they asked me, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah. And it was, but I didn't have words to put to it. So later, as we were driving home, the gal said something about it. And so I said, what could I have said? And she's like, oh, just tell people you just have a quiet day. And most people will respect that. And I went, oh, okay. So just kind of learning that language, because there wasn't anything wrong. It was just releasing all that energy of a whole bunch of people. So to me, that was huge. That was a huge one. So,
that's awesome. Well, it leads right into what I wanted to share about today, which is this, like we're moving into this concept of emotional intelligence, right? And I love how, like, such a huge win to just realize, oh, like having tons of energy, whether it's female energy, whether it's just being around people 24/7, and your physical body, your egoic body, your mental body is not necessarily like used to that, right? And so there has to be some chaos before new order, where things are releveling, and there's kind of a certain invasions of of energetic or privacy or whatever happens where we're in a new environment and there's just going to be some sort of energetic chaos or a shift in energy and you want to reset yourself. And Jolene figured out, like, so what's so cool is she didn't go into making herself wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad for like feeling low energy and down on a day that I'm with all these women. Or, oh my gosh, I feel bad. So all these women must be doing something that's wrong. So I'm going to make every one of them wrong for some reason, right? Like we can do one of those two things, but we're kind of pros at just making people wrong. But she didn't do that. And she just went into, okay, like I'm going to deal with that. So she starts writing. She starts to like, then she gets up. She's like, I'm still not quite there. I haven't released it all. But she's recognized it through her writing, what's going on. And then she goes into like, so she mentally recognizes it and then she mentally writes it down and releases. But then there's also like an energetic thing. And she realizes, oh, if I go and ground and I lay down, that's a releasing mechanism for my physical body, my energetic body, my emotional body. I can release things into the earth. And so then her spiritual body takes a nap and she kind of like resets. And she then gets up and she shows up for real life. She has to get in the car for the next road trip or whatever, and she starts showing up in real life. So her egoic body takes over and weigh, measure, compare, or time limits and lists and that kind of thing. So on page 8 of your workbook, it goes through this, but it talks about all the bodies. I think it's really important to kind of, when we're looking at our what, why, how, hows, that we take this into consideration, right? Like often if I'm looking at, and I'm not like, I don't have this part totally mastered where I'm going into my, what do I want to get done? And I'm taking care of a lot of the physical, right? Like the physical, my physical house, my physical body. I want to feel good. I want to feel at peace, or I want to feel proud of myself for showing up. I'm not necessarily looking at every part. And so on page 8, it talks about the mental body, the physical body, the energetic body or emotional body, and then the spiritual body and the egoic body. So page 8.
I know my page 8 is.
Oh, sorry, 20. It's oh gosh. Oh no.
I was gonna say that's not my page 8 either.
24, 25. It's a completely. No, I moved this over. That's why. It's on the pages as page 8, but it's on 25.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, all the bodies. Okay.
The bodies.
Now I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
so let's look at, if you're doing your what, why, how.
the bodies? Wait, what?
Go to page 25, but it will say 8 at the bottom.
Yeah, very confusing.
Just like out of order. Or
After 16. Okay, good. I'm here.
Student. Catalina's such a good student. Okay, so when we're looking at doing our what, why, how, what do I want? Well, you can do it from the idea of, what do I want from my mental body right now? What do I want to learn? What do I want to visualize and create? So mentally, you can ask that question. You can also look at why. Why do I want my mental body to have a different, and you can look at, or you can go, I want to build a house. Why? Because I want to have a space where I can study and I can learn things and I can grow and and why? Oh, because I want my physical body to have like a really restful space that I can sleep and do things. And I want a gym in my house because I want to be, right? So it gets more clarity. So as we're creating, and we can take in these 5 bodies, we can create more powerfully. It's just going kind of a step deeper. So when you're creating this week, and you ask yourself, what do I want? I want you to kind of take this into consideration. Or if you're like clear on what's an example of a what that you wrote down this week?
Sorry, what's a what?
So like a what? Like this week, mine was um, get 5 things off my to-do list and connect with my friend Leah who's in town, right? And then I go, okay, so those are my whats. But then I can go into like why I want to do that. Well, I really like feel spiritually and emotionally fed when I'm with Leah. And I want to like really nourish that relationship because it feels so good. I want to get my stuff done because I have a mental toll of my to-do list and it is like on my mind and it's really like weighing on me. And one of those things is to get a workout in this week because it's really important for my physical body to get a workout in. And I just feel like I can have more peace. So my spiritual body would be taken care of. Then how am I going to do that? Right? Then I look through these. So this is a really good tool to kind of hone in and get clarity around what you're writing down. So if then I go, how am I going to achieve that? Well, I'm going to put timers on. That is a structure for my mind, right? I'm going to listen to Blinkist of emotional intelligence because that's the fastest, easiest way for me to get the information about about this whole entire book that would take me 8 hours to read, and I'm going to listen to it in 20, right? I'm going to what it's how I'm going to make sure that I put a timer on so I'm on time to visit with Leah, and then I have all my things so that I'm completely present with her, and I make sure that the kids are taken care of and all of the food on the table and all these things, right? So when we get into the how, we can look at each one of these bodies as well and kind of get clear on how we're taking care of each one of these so that we can create the best experience for ourselves. How will I know I'm successful? I'll have learned something new. I'll feel stronger in my body. I'll be at peace. I'll have done my meditation and feel like that calming of my mind, and I'll have like done it all within the time limits that I gave myself, and I'll feel so good, right? So any questions about the bodies? I kind of ran through how I would do it with just like one of my days last week of my what, why, how. But
so do you pick a different body or do you are all 5 of them? Like that one seemed a lot of mental. And then
yeah,
some.
that's like what I lean towards. So I probably like I'm better at that one. But at the same time, I was actually saying each one. It's like, I'm going to work out. I'm going to make sure that I feel stronger in my body. I'm going to feel more at peace. I'll have done my my meditation. I'll have done, my journaling. I've done my writing, whatever. I'll just feel really connected to Leah, right?
Why is
So
it called egoic body?
So ego, we call, this is actually a great question, and there's a distinction because there's so many different connotations to the word ego, right? The way that we said, there's so many different connotations to do a retreat with people that have been in this space because there's certain things that we just use words for that has a different connotation to other people. So if you just think, when we say ego, it's like weigh, measure, and compare. So when you go into your mind and there's a part that's like, oh, but they're fatter than I am, but oh, I'm richer than they are, like that's the ego, right? It's just there's a constant kind of and then but we also say the ego is super important. Like we need the ego to go, oh, like I stink compared to them and I'm going to go wash my armpits. Like it's really important that the reason we brush our teeth and brush our hair and like put clothes on or go shopping like is because of the ego. And the ego serves us. So we don't want to get rid of the ego. We just want to like tame it a little bit so that it's not walking around making everyone wrong all the time.
Well, why is the ego the one that's like tangibly like marking the calendar and setting time limits and making like why is the ego that?
Weigh, measure, compare, right? It's like weighing and going, is putting numbers to things. It's putting the measurement of time. It believes in time. Ego does. Like,
Okay.
is time really a reality? Not as much as we think, right? It's not. It's like time can be expanded, time can shrink. Like, there's all sorts of concepts around time. But ego is a total believer in time. So why don't we use the ego to set all these time limits and make lists and set rewards and like think that they're did great and better than you were yesterday, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah, way measure and compare also is part of survival too, because you have to know what works and doesn't work. So that's where measuring and comparing, you know.
Oh, that didn't work. That's ego. But
Yeah,
it's like it's a good thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, we can call it something else. That's just the language that we use.
it's perfect. Because there's positive and negative of everything. So it's like
Totally.
you kind of want to be, the modulation in all things. So
Well, even physical body, like some people have a really negative connotation to the words physical body, right? So it's just we all have emotion attached to different words, but a lot of people this it's just because ego has such it does have like a connotation of it's negative, but it's actually a really, really great thing for making us function on the planet. Like people that don't have ego are not um creating in 3D very powerfully.
or yeah.
I don't know about that.
No, I think yeah, like
Not true. They're not creating from weigh, measure, and compare. And there's all sorts of ways that you can create.
yeah. So like one
So
of my I'm on day 9 of writing in my book. That empowering to me because I took on something to continue and learn and grow and develop. And so measurement, I'm on day 9. I'm on day 9, which is really great. But where I don't want to go is go like, what day are you guys on? And does it mean anything?
Or
Taking
I skipped a day and now it's all for naught. Right?
correct.
So use ego as a tool, but don't be ruled by it. Because ego would go, oh, like you've only done 9 days and there's 250 days and everyone else took 500 days and you think you're going to do two. Like, right? Like our egos can be out of control. And so it's using it as and that's parts integration, right? It's going like, okay, thank you. And what your job is to help me to create structure and patterns and to help me make sure that I'm showing up in this way. So do you want to show up that way with me? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how my brain works all the time. So my ego is the perfectionist, I think. They're best buds.
Oh yeah. They're in cahoots or they may just be the same. Like your ego may be a perfectionist, which is totally possible too.
So, Paige, what you're saying then is we should be putting all 5 of these in each day as like at the bottom here, intentions for today. So meaning that we're bringing all of those into satisfying all of those every day when we do our what, how, right?
Yeah, and so it's adding it's like this is like principle-based thought 2.0, you know? Maybe I'm throwing this in pretty quick, but it's saying, when you're doing your how, then write in it's and we did say this, and we said SMART goals, right? So include a time measurement in there. Put the time, put how long, put what that's going to help you to be able to accomplish things with more ease and more with more clarity with at the end of the day you're like, oh, I absolutely met that, right? Because you said I'm going to write in my book for 10 minutes at 8 o'clock. Well, then you did it or you didn't, right? It's clear. So it's all about getting to more clarity. And then for your intention is, what do I want? If it's to have balance in the 5 bodies, then write your mental what you want, your physical what you want, emotional. If you're flying through it and you're just getting your what, why, how done, do one of them. For my today what I'm focused on is my physical body, and I'm going to make what I want is to make sure that I eat, sleep, and drink and exercise. And so if you just say, I want to eat, sleep, drink, and exercise, can you see how if I don't include the 5 bodies and I don't use the weigh measure, if I don't set actual times, then how do I know if I even did it? Yeah, I drank. Okay, I had some water. Done. Right? Like that's not actually helping you, right? That's not creating a life that you love. It's just being dumb. Like let's just call it straight. Like that's just dumb. Like that's playing a game, and we're not playing a game. We're actually like wanting to experience life differently. So if you just say, I'm going to eat, drink, and sleep today as your what, then, and like why, because I want to feel good. How? By doing all of those things and being good at it. And then like, how am I going to be successful? Because I eat, sleep, and drink. Well, okay. I eat, sleep, and drink every day. Do I do it like it so that I'm actually feeling better and it's actually serving me? No, I have to get a lot more specific. So this is just a tool to get you into more clarity and more specificity so that you can actually celebrate yourself more, right? Like in the end of the day, what we want is to go, oh my gosh, I know I was successful today. That is how you build a life that you love. You're like loving at the end of the day what you just did and how you just lived your life. So we're setting ourselves up at the beginning of the day to know what success looks like. And then at the end of the day, we're celebrating it. And we're creating a balanced life. It's one thing, right? Like a fulfilling life.
Not out of fear or survival or have to or shoulds, or it's all created.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not like I'm so rich, so I'm like successful. It's like I'm I'm fulfilled. So it may be that you're a multimillionaire, but you also have really wonderful relationships.
Yeah.
And you also have a strong, healthy, happy body. And you're also actually a happy human, right? And you're actually connected to God. So your bodies are aligned, and that's fulfillment. So we're not looking for just success, we're looking for fulfillment, which means that there's balance in every body. Yay. That's it. Super simple. But
I have a win here before we go.
What's that?
I have a win to share.
Yay.
Sure.
So on Friday, well, I purchased a golf cart a few months ago because I thought when I was a treasurer, I wanted to go down to the pool and I wanted the golf cart, and I didn't want to be in my car and everything else. And then I haven't driven the golf cart. I haven't done anything with the golf cart. So the golf cart died in my driveway. So then I went, okay, fine. I need to be responsible. I bought the golf cart. I need to like make sure there's water in the batteries. I need to charge it up. I have to do everything else. I put the charger on it and the charger wouldn't work. And then I'm going like, okay. Then I got really frustrated, which is the emotion thing, right? Of going like, okay, why did I buy this golf cart? Because it was something I should have, and I wanted to look good. And I don't really want the golf cart. I don't really want the golf cart. And I was looking at it, I was going to have to build an enclosure for it. And I didn't really, I wasn't into like, it wasn't creative and didn't want to spend the money. And it was like, everything was like in order to and have to and hard. And then I just went, okay, this golf cart is not fun. So on Friday night, I went, okay, the universe is telling me the battery's dead. My enthusiasm is dead. I don't want the golf cart. So I'm going to sell the golf cart. Saturday morning, I sold the golf cart to my handyman.
Nice.
He's saying, well, what about the battery? And I go, I don't know. We'll just, it's going to be yours. So we're just going to figure that out. Right. And I said, if there was just like a switch or something on the golf cart that you could flip and that would solve the problem. Right. So I pull up the seat on the golf cart and there's a switch.
Ah,
I flipped the switch and I went, well, what can it hurt? I don't know what it does, but you know,
that's amazing.
I flip the switch. He leaves. I go back on Sunday. The light's green. The thing is charged up.
That's
And I
amazing.
went, okay, this is like a really good lesson. I didn't, yeah, it was like perfect. Okay. And I'm like so happy that my handyman has it. And he goes, you can borrow it anytime. You know, I'm going like, okay, good. Got the lesson. But I thought, perfect. It didn't have any energy. It didn't have the right energy. And once I put the right energy to it, it got the energy.
Wow. That's so fascinating.
I know. It was on the charger
And
for
also there's like a lesson in surrender there too, of like, you know, no attachment and all the things.
it was on the charger for a week, and I kept thinking, okay, it's plugged in. It's you know, it's like really what? How hard can this be? Well, oh, oh,
Ah!
that's my big. There's my big win. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, Jolene just texted me about that. Thank you. I'm sorry. I can look it around too, but anyway, I love you guys so much. Ah, the kitty. It's so cute.
My little black kitty.
Oh,
It's
sweet baby.
Hey.
Hey, thank you. It's gonna be crazy. Okay, have a good week. Kelsey's gonna come on Tuesday and teach, and it's gonna be so good because she's using all this principle-based thought in order to create her program, and she's gonna share with you guys. So I'm super excited for that special class next week. So love you guys. Be in
Love
touch.
you. Bye, guys.